It's Saturday, October 19th, 2024. And these days, Longpa and I have mostly been we've been trading off, giving the Dhamma talks. So last Saturday was Longpa, and then the last Wanpra, of course, being Pavarana Day, was all the Anagarkas and junior monks, Majjhima monks. So now it falls to me this evening, and I'll be doing some traveling soon. So in a few days, I'll be heading out and going to Tisarana Monastery's Katina, Lumpur Viradamo. And I am very much looking forward to going there. It's a very beautiful place. And also, I have to say, I'm looking forward to being a guest somewhere. And then back here, coming back with Lumpur Viradamo on the 29th. And of course, he'll be our honored guest for our upcoming Katina on November 3rd. Then soon after that, I'll be off again to Thailand, be away for 5 weeks that time. There is that very, very much that sense of coming into the winter period, the pulse, the yearly pulse of the Abhayagiri schedule. We're heading toward winter retreat, the New Year period, and then there's having ended the Vasa now, there's a sense of, I remember when in Thailand one time, Ajahn Nyaniko said he always felt like end of Vasa was like the bit term, it's like the end of the semester, and people go off, go their separate ways. Some people stay around, but many people go off traveling, go off to do other things for a while. So this coming winter retreat, it looks like we're going to have a bit of a smaller community. Some good memories were coming up during the meditation this evening. I had a memory of the last time Longpa Liam was here, and that was in 2018 for the grand opening of this hall, of this new meditation hall, the reception hall. And the memory that came up was actually, and I don't know who had this idea, but the Sanghapala board and the lay people offered a very large key to Longpa Liam. And I never really looked into it, who procured this key and who had it made. It's this very, very large key. And I don't know what happened to it. Did he take it with him, or did he, what happened to that key? I don't know where it is. Yeah. Oh, you have it. You have the key. Okay, we solved the mystery. I was thinking about this key during the meditation. I don't think Longpa Liam would have taken that with him. But it was a very good idea. We had this very beautiful ceremony. That was the board collectively coming up with that idea. So all these beautiful kindnesses and things that happen over the years, which create a certain energy, it builds up over time. And that's kindness. More and more I think I like to translate metta as just kindness, and both acts of kindness, speech, words of kindness, kind thoughts, and that's metta. And then over time, many, many, many acts of kindness builds a certain energy in a place, and that energy is very peaceful, very comfortable, and it creates an environment where it fosters a sense of ease and well-being, a place that can be a sanctuary for people where there's no worries. We can set our issues aside, set our problems aside, and come and at least temporarily be at ease in this place. It's quite a blessing, quite wonderful. And so it's good to recollect all of these kindnesses, all of the good things that happen, and especially when inevitably there's going to be uncomfortable or bad things that happen. There's going to be discontent, dis-ease at times, and at times maybe when the mental obscurations, the defilements get the best of us and we speak in a way to others that we regret, and then we'll feel a sense of dis-ease after that. Or if somebody speaks to us in a way that makes us uncomfortable, either belittles us or makes fun of us or condemns us or criticizes us in some way. And then that can lead to dis-ease, discontent. We just passed the Pavarana day. Pavarana means invitation. And this is where the monastic community goes through a ceremony, and it actually replaces the Patimokkha ceremony. So for this one day per year, the Buddha gave permission to do a shorter ceremony. So the Patimokkha, which normally takes about 45 minutes to chant, it's not chanted on the Pavarana day, the end of the Vasa day. And instead, it's a shorter ceremony where all of the monastics give invitation. If there's anything seen, heard, or suspected in my conduct that should be pointed out, may the Venerable Ones, may the community, may my friends point it out. And so even though we give this invitation, still it can be unpleasant if things, say a constructive criticism or a criticism that it's true, it's actually something useful. And if somebody out of kindness points something out to us, still it can hurt, still it can sting and be painful. But this is to be considered good medicine. It's like medicine or a balm or some sort of astringent medicine that you're putting on a wound, and it stings, but it heals it. So this type of criticism is seen as good, can be useful, can be helpful. And then even in the suttas, the Buddha talks about when people uncover our hidden faults, then it's like somebody pointing out treasure to us. So can we actually develop that attitude of, thank you, sadhu, thank you for pointing out hidden treasure to me when somebody criticizes? It's very difficult. Normally, I know for myself what happens is that sense of self comes up and I can get defensive, or sometimes try to justify in my mind, oh, no, it's not that, they don't really see it quite properly. It's not the case, actually. But can we have that humility? Can we be humble enough to say, okay, well, yeah, I'll take that on and reflect on it. I'll reflect on it and use that as a reflection on reflecting on my behavior. Because it's hard to receive constructive criticism. It's also hard to give constructive criticism at the right time. It's hard to say what needs to be said at the right time. If it's going to sting somebody, if it's going to be difficult for somebody, it's not at all easy. As one of my biggest fears in being in a leadership position is inevitably knowing that there would be times when I would have to say things that would be difficult for people to hear, and I really, really don't like to do that. And at the same time, there's various guidelines that we're supposed to keep in mind. One is that we're supposed to be free from the fault ourselves. So if we point something out, it shouldn't be something that also we need to work on, that we should actually be free from the fault ourselves. And it should be out of inner kindness, not out of annoyance or irritation or anger. It should be factual, keeping the truth in mind, keeping the facts of the matter in mind, and not embellishing or exaggerating the situation. It's keeping the other person's welfare in mind, not wanting to hurt them, not wanting to injure them, but actually doing it out of compassion and for the sake of their welfare. So there's all these things that we're supposed to keep in mind in this, what we call the spirit of Pavarana, the spirit of that invitation. And then it is through this mutual encouragement, pointing out of, say, the things that might happen that might be unbeautiful in other people's behavior. And it's not like we do it, it's not like we're looking for this all the time. We shouldn't be just going around all the time trying to find the faults of others. But if there's something that is seen, something that could be talked about, or a type of encouragement that could be given to somebody else, that sense that, oh yeah, we can do better than that. We can rise up above that. So just to give a brief talk this evening, I wanted to talk a little bit about different ways to view kindness. And of course, the Buddha talks about immeasurable Brahmaviharas, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. So, and then at spreading to all as to myself, and likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So this is the spreading around to the 4 quarters of the earth, or we could even think about the Brahmaviharas going out in the 10 directions. That's the 4 cardinal directions, and then the middle directions says north, south, east, and west, northwest, southeast, and so on, and above and below. And with kindness, I think being at a place like Abhayagiri Monastery and wanting this to be a sanctuary for absolutely anybody who wants to develop themselves spiritually and be able to plug into the good energy that we have here, then that sense of impartiality, impartial kindness is very, very important. So it can be easy sometimes, like people who might be different than us, people who might follow different religions, for example, to think, oh yeah, maybe it's not the true way, or maybe other types of Buddhism. This is the Theravada is the most pure, and we're the lineage that's following the Vinaya and so on. And so we might compare ourselves to either other lineages of Buddhism or just think of other religions and how could they believe that? How could they think that? How could they believe those things? So we might have a mind that becomes judgmental, but then it's no longer metta at that point. So there's not that sense of impartiality. Yeah. So can we have kindness for people who see things differently than us? And then it's truly each quarter of the world, because there's many different countries in the world, there's different religions, and then within all those different religions, there's different ways of seeing those religions, and nothing is fixed. And different religions, we can see the benefits of them, that they have kindness and generosity and different aspects of wholesome behavior as well. So we have part of being able to have kindness is also seeing that there are good people everywhere. There are good people all over the world who also have kindness and are trying to be impartial and have kindness to others as well. Or just people who see things differently than us, have different opinions than us, then that might make it difficult for us to have kindness to others who see the world differently than us. But then we just come back to seeing everybody as people. So every human being on the earth right now was born at a certain point, went through a childhood, had certain conditioning, and grew up. And if they live long enough, and many people have passed away at a young age, but those who live long enough to get to adulthood and old age, every single individual has their own kamma, their own conditioning, and their own reasons for being exactly the way they are. There's no one in the earth who's not worthy of our kindness. When we try to plant that type of an idea in our mind might think, yeah, everybody in the earth except for that. Except that's where we need to work. So kindness, which is impartial, and compassion, which is impartial. There's a lovely story in the Tibetan tradition of a monk who, I think he lived a couple hundred years ago. He was a very dedicated yogi practitioner, cave yogi, and his main practice was impartial compassion for all beings, and not just human beings, but also beings in unfortunate states of existence. And he went to practice in a remote area, a remote cave, and in this particular area, there was spirits who they didn't want people there. So there was a couple spirits who kind of, we're going to do some harm to this person. What's he doing here? And these spirits were watching him, and this monk, this yogi monk, was practicing, and he was reflecting on compassion, impartial compassion for all beings. And sometimes he would sit quietly. Sometimes he would quietly cry to himself, reflecting on the immense suffering of beings in the lower realms and really having true empathy for them. And these two spirits who at first they wanted to harm him, they were talking to them among themselves, and they said, he cares about us more than he cares about himself. How could we do harm to this person? And so that sense of compassion is very, very powerful. it also illustrates that it's a very powerful protection. And we can apply boundless mudita, or empathetic joy, boundless upekkha, boundless equanimity, serenity, in the same way. One way that we can actually practice mudita, so today we've started with our hand sewing week, actually training to do the hand sewn katina robe. And I was thinking about it that it's really actually quite fun to pass on this knowledge, just this simple knowledge of hand sewing. And it's also enjoyable for people to learn about it. So one way that we can develop joy, is through not just teaching, but also learning. Learning is actually quite fun if it's held in the right way. And if we live a life of learning where we're always reflecting, we're always looking at how can we see things in more of a true way, how can we see things in more of a refined way. And then when we learn things, we can pass that on to others. We clarify our own knowledge through passing it on to others. So through teaching, we actually end up clarifying our knowledge. And then the others who receive that knowledge, they can also reflect on it, learn from it. So something like hand sewing, just a simple technique of hand sewing, and watching people starting to develop experience and watching people enjoy it. I find that quite gratifying. And seeing people be appreciative of it and then find their own way with it, find their own style. So there's this sense of learning as we get on in our years and gain more experience in life. Then we'll see, like a lot of people who are older, I think of like Ken in Redwood Valley, always talking, always imparting knowledge, always just reflecting on the birds, reflecting on the plants, the gardens. So what are the cycles? What time of year do certain birds come about? What time of year do certain flowers bloom? Just noticing all these things, and then being able to impart that knowledge and taking joy in imparting the knowledge and helping others to create joy for themselves through being fascinated in learning about that knowledge. And then we can apply that knowledge to just our daily life. Just as we observe the world around us, it's one part of mindfulness. And then all of the knowledge that we gain, we use that for the practice. We use that for equanimity. We use that to create a sense of ease and well-being and balance. And with the practice over time, we gain knowledge just how to be more at ease, how to go about our life, not just in the meditation, but then apply the meditation to how we walk around the cloister area, the type of mental attitudes we hold when we're walking to and from our kuti, our dwelling place. Some of us live further up the hill. We might have to walk 15 or 20 minutes up the hill. How do we walk? How do we hold our mind when we're walking? What types of things are we holding in our mind? What types of things are we contemplating? How can we keep the mind in line with the practice? How can we keep the mind with a sense of balance and composure so that when we come down to the hall, the mind is already primed for meditation? It's not that we start doing this just when we sit down or just when we start walking on our walking meditation path, but we prime the mind beforehand. So we might think when we sit down to meditate, okay, I'll try to make the mind peaceful at this moment. But then if we back it up, try to make the mind peaceful while we're doing the chanting. So if we try to make the mind peaceful when we're doing the chanting, then the mind is more ready for the meditation and we'll gain more benefit from it. And then if we're able to do that, we might think, oh, why don't I try to make my mind peaceful and serene when I walk into the hall, when I walk through the door into the hall and I walk in and I bow, why don't I start then? The mind is already ready for the meditation. And through the chanting, it can be more meditative as we focus on each word of the chanting and a sense of patience with the chanting. We feel at ease with it. And then we might even think, well, why don't I start even before that? And we can keep backing it up to the point where we'll be at ease most of the time throughout the day. The point where it gets difficult is when we get tested. So say we're able to be at ease for most of the day, and then somebody criticizes us or says something that just rubs us the wrong way. We'll feel that impulse or that trigger happening, and how quick can we come back to the sense of ease? Just earlier today, I received a phone call and was listening to somebody talk about they were going through quite a bit of suffering. And at first I thought, oh, maybe, I could say something or respond to this. But then I thought, no, just remain with that sense of ease and just listen. There's no need to fix any situation. I might have some ideas, but there's no need to fix it. There's, it's just listen, just compassion, just kindness. And then for myself, I was able to remain in a sense of ease and just say, okay, yeah, this is a realm of suffering that somebody's experiencing, and I can have kindness for that. I can have compassion for that. Of course, I'm not able to do this all the time, but it is a reflection that I bring up often, that what would it be like just to be able to be kind all the time? Be really, really nice. If any of us who are able to be kind all the time, there's not going to be much suffering there for us, because they don't really go together. Kindness and those wholesome states and suffering. Wholesome states and unwholesome states don't go together. It's one or the other. So it's something to think about. To what extent are we able to have impartial kindness? To what extent are we able to remain with a sense of ease and composure? And to what extent are we able to take joy in learning from the things we do in the monastery and gain a sense of gratitude and appreciation from those things? And taking all of this and then finding a way forward that's easeful, that is also a place of refuge, a place of safety. So I think that's probably good for this evening. It's been a fairly long day, so I'll leave it there.